we're going to go to Acts. And real quickly, I'm going to read verse 9, but we're really going to 13. I know, I do things like that. Chapter 13. Okay. Acts 13. Sorry about that. Yeah. Acts 13. Okay. Verse 9 says, I always want to provoke your thoughts. So, then Shaul, okay, also known as Paul, filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, stared straight at him and he said, and I'm going to stop there. Do you notice that it says Shaul, also known as Paul? Mm-hmm. There's something that I was taught as a little girl, that God changed his name to Paul. Do you think that's correct? I'm here to tell you it's not. Never happened. But that's what I was taught. So always search things out, okay? So let's just erase, if you were taught that in, Sunday school, erase it, okay? His Hebrew name is Shaul.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
His Roman name, remember, he's a Roman citizen, Paul, okay?
Yeah.
And you're going to find that, okay? It's not like Abram and Abraham and Jacob and Israel. Mm-hmm. Not the same, okay? And that's what I was taught. So if anybody was taught that, please erase it. It's not so. Okay, moving on to verse 13. Okay, 13. So having set sail from Paphos, Shaul and his companions arrived at Perga in Pamphylia, where Yohanan, this is John Mark, okay? And this becomes a problem later. Where Yohanan, John Mark, left them and returned to Jerusalem. But the others went on from Perga to Pisidian Antioch, and on Shabbat they went into the synagogue and sat down. This is a number of years after the final, Yeshua's Pesach, the famous Last Supper Pesach, Passover, and his resurrection, him spending 40 days off and on with the disciples, and then them waiting for Pentecost, and this is many years later. Many years later. We've already lost a couple disciples. Okay, they've already been, done away with. So they've been martyred, and a lot has gone on. Okay, and we've lost Stephen, and there's been missionary journeys. So this is a lot of years later, and here's Paul going to the synagogue. So first believers were predominantly, I want to say 99%, 90%, let me just say 90% Jewish, because there are God-fearers. There are proselytes who've been grafted into Judaism, okay? Then there are those who aren't grafted completely into Judaism, but they're God-fearers. And now you have people called Derek, the way. Derek, the way, okay? And people are walking in the way of Yeshua, Mashiach, okay? And so the first church, I almost hate to use the word church, because the first believers are messianic. They go to synagogue. They hear Moses read. Remember, we already talked about, what you should eat and this and that and the blah, blah. Well, because they're going to go and they're going to hear Moses every week. So you're going to learn the law and you'll start to obey. But right when you come to him, don't eat blood and don't eat things strangled and don't fornicate. Right? Don't do these things. And the rest you'll learn as you come to synagogue. Then in the afternoons, the believers got together. They went from house to house. Remember, we've read that in Acts already. They went from house to house and they shared meals. They shared everything in common. Okay? Or they would also go to the steps. Let me see if I can find a picture real fast. Whoops. Let me find a picture really. Look at there. The southern steps of the temple. Because it's still at this time, the temple's still standing. We're not at 70 AD yet here, okay? So they would be maybe even on the Temple Mount in Solomon's portico with the columns, or they'd be on the steps, okay? Because Gentiles can be on the steps, and Gentiles can be in the court of the Gentiles, just not elsewhere, okay? So that's how, excuse me. And just a reminder, aren't you glad that you don't have to sit on stone steps for synagogue, okay? Okay. So that's where we're at. So he went into the synagogue and sat down. And after reading from the Torah and the prophets, every year, and we have the same reading. Every year we go through Torah and prophets. If we follow along with the parashah, we also add the writings, history, Psalms, Proverbs, and New Testament. So we have even more that we add to the reading, right? Okay. So after reading from the Torah and from the prophets, the synagogue leaders sent them a message, because see, this was the way it was done. If you were a rabbi and you were a visiting rabbi and you traveled, because some of them did, this happened in the time of Yeshua too. He was a rabbi. So they would say, do you have a word? And then he would go to the bima, remember the bima, and he would give a word. So they're giving this courtesy to Shaul, okay? Not Paul, because he's in a synagogue. Shaul, okay? Brothers, if any of you has a word of exhortation for the people, speak. So Shaul stood and motioned with his hand, and he said, Men of Israel and God-fearers. Is he in Israel? No.
Oh, he's not.
No, he's not. But he's in a Jewish synagogue.
Right.
Because wherever they go,
Well, where was he?
you're going to have,
Perga
you're going to have, in
and
Perga.
Pamphylia.
In Perga. Okay, so you're going to have, just like we do in anywhere you go, you're going to have Jewish synagogues
Right.
in places. Now, we might not have one in every city in America, but in bigger cities, and people come, okay? They come. Men of Israel and God-fearers. See, there's Hebrew and Gentile. Was this always God's plan? Always.
Always.
Always. We are made in his image. Okay, we are made in his image, but we're not all his sons and daughters. Only those who accept him. But we're all made in his image, and it was always his plan. Remember that vast multitude, Exodus. Okay? The God of this people, Israel. Why? Because God chose Israel. Because they were so great and wonderful and important and big and powerful? No. So that I can take this obscure little nation and show my character, my steadfastness, my chesed, my truth, my plumb line, my faithfulness. And when you mess up, people are going to see how I treat you. They're going to learn from you how you're supposed to worship me. That's why they're chosen. And we are grafted in. Okay.
Amen.
So are we now part of the Israel of God? Yes. But we don't usurp. No. We're grafted in. Okay. Brothers, if any of you, I just did that part, sorry. Men of Israel and God-fearers, listen. The God of this people, Israel, chose our fathers. What fathers are we talking about specifically here? Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, right? Founding fathers. He made the people great during the time when they were living as aliens in Egypt. Oh, how appropriate. We're coming up on that, huh? And with a stretched out arm, he led them out of the land. For some 40 years, he took care of them in the desert. And after he had destroyed 7 nations in the land of Canaan, he gave their land to his people as an inheritance. All of this took about 450 years. Does that line up with the Old Testament? It sure does. Sure does. Take that page out, New Testament. It's all one book. After that, he gave them judges down to the prophet Shemuel. We call him Samuel. And then they asked for a king. And God gave them Shaul bin Kish, Saul, son of Kish, right? A man from the tribe of Benjamin. And after 40 years, God removed him and raised up David as king for them, making his approval known with these words, I found David ben Yishai, right? David, son of Jesse. We say Jesse, but there's no J in Hebrew, so Yishai, okay? To be a man after my own heart. He will do everything I want. Sometimes Rahab the prostitute. Why? To distinguish who she is, what I did, and how miraculous I am. It's not a mark against her. It's an identifier. Okay? It's an identifier. David, a man after God's own heart. What boggles my mind is that Saul was allowed to be king for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
That just boggles my mind. Because
Even after he lost the anointing.
yes, he disobeyed, and yet, and David didn't usurp, even though he was anointed
Mm-hmm.
and God's chosen. He waited for God.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, I'm waiting for Abba. I'm not going to do it. He is.
Mm-hmm.
He will do everything I want. Why? Because he's a man after his own heart.
Mm-hmm.
But wait a minute. David had an, yep. David, yep. He even killed the, yep. David, here I am, Hine. Oh, that was me. I did it.
Mm-hmm.
His heart will not deny God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You can blow it. You can deliberately blow it. But when he comes and confronts you, if the first thing you do is, I'm guilty, that's me, I did this, rent my heart, then you're good.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the place where you need to be. Okay? But if you're not, if instead you hide your sin or you attack or you throw it onto something or someone, then you're in the wrong place. Okay? You're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong spot. Your heart isn't right. So it's all about the heart. It's the condition of the heart. So in keeping with his promise, God has brought to Israel from this man's descendants a deliverer, Yeshua. And what does Yeshua mean? God saves. God is salvation, right? Now, before the coming of Yeshua, Yohanan, this would have been the immerser, not the one I just spoke about, John Mark, okay? This would have been the immerser, who was actually physically his cousin, right? Proclaimed to all the people of Israel an immersion in connection with turning. What is that turning? It's a Hebrew word, teshuvah. Teshuvah. To God from sin. Okay, that's what teshuvah is. Turning from your own way. Turning from your own thought. Turning from what you think is right. Turning from what is contrary to God's word to God. That's teshuvah. And we think a lot of times that we do teshuvah before what we call Rosh Hashanah, which is really Yom Torah, Feast of Trumpets. But I say, shouldn't we do that before Pesach too? Shouldn't we do it every day?
Every day, yeah. That's
Because, you know, the water is to wash our hands and our feet because our bodies are clean.
mm-hmm.
So every day, if we're out with our hands doing and we're walking through people and circumstances with our feet, so our hands and our feet get dirty. But not necessarily, but so every day, creating me a clean heart. Every day, wash your hands, wash your feet, right? Every day, wash me clean, show me. What? Here I am, Hineni, right? Okay. But as Yohanan was ending his work, he said, who do you suppose I am? And then he answers himself and he says, well, I'm not. Remember, are you the prophet? No, I'm not the prophet. Right? The prophet would be, they were waiting for Mashiach, right? Are you the Mashiach? No, I'm not the Messiah. Right? I'm the voice of one crying in there. I am a prophet. I'm the prophet coming that's calling before him, making way, but I'm not the prophet. So he answered correctly. That always bugged me growing up because no one ever had an answer. Well, he is a prophet. Why did he say he wasn't a prophet? Read it again, Sherry. He didn't say he wasn't a prophet. I'm not the prophet. There's a difference. Okay? But after me is coming someone, the sandals of whose feet I am unworthy to untie. brothers, sons of Abraham. Are we sons of Abraham?
Yes.
Yeah. Even though I'm female, it's still child. It means child, children, right? I'm a son. We're sons and daughters of Abraham. And those among you who are God-fearers, it is to us that the message of this deliverance has been sent. Remember Daniel? He was given the vision at the end, and Daniel's like, what does it mean? It's not for you, Daniel. What?
Mm-hmm.
You do what? You're not going to explain this to me?
Mm-hmm.
And he had to be content and close it and put it aside because it was for us. I'm so, my Western mind's like, really? I mean, do you know the time we live in? We have so much. We have all the knowledge. We have it all right here. Well, we don't have everything because there's no way we know everything. And the more I know, the more I know I don't know. So maybe that's what that 1,000 years is for, right? So that we learn.
Could be.
Boy, howdy, that's a lot. It is to us that the message of this deliverance has been sent. For the people living in Jerusalem, and their leaders did not recognize who Yeshua was or understand the message of the prophets read every Shabbat. Wow, they missed it. Did they? Not all of them. They didn't all miss it. Some of them knew.
Majority did.
Some of them knew and obeyed and followed. We have examples. Some of them knew but didn't want to lose power. That's human. Okay, so let's not say, oh, those Jews. No. That's human. We do that. We don't want to be found out. We don't want to lose what we think we have. So they fulfilled that message by condemning him. Do you know that was the purpose from the beginning? So is it the Jews' fault? No. How about the Romans? No. It was already ordained. It was already planned. It was already, he knew what he was going to do. It was my sin.
Preordained.
And he did it out of chesed, love. Okay. They could not find any legitimate ground for a death sentence. Nevertheless, they asked Pilate to have him executed. They kind of cornered Pilate, huh? But we kind of, to get ourselves out of our own messes or to cover our own messes, we do the same thing. We scream real loud. We do the same thing. We scream real loud. And we throw something, we project onto somebody when we're the ones at fault, not them. And it's not Jewish, it's human.
Reminds me of the January 6th
Yeah.
people that are
In prison.
in jail.
Yeah.
For
For following somebody else's lead. Yeah.
yeah, and it's planned and
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot there that I thought about that this week too. I thought, yeah, we still do those.
We
same
do that.
Things.
We do the exact same thing.
Same things.
Exact same thing. So they could not find any legitimate ground for a death sentence. Nevertheless, they asked Pilate to have him executed. And when they had carried out all the things, here's the part people don't want to, written about him. Written about him. So next time somebody wants to say, oh, well, the Jews killed him. Excuse me, did written about him. Before there was ever a Jew. Before Abraham. Before Jacob. Before Isaac, who became Israel, who became Jewish, right? Before Judah. It was written about him. He was taken down from the stake and placed in a tomb. But God, my two favorite words, but God raised him from the dead. He appeared for many days to those who had come up with him from the Galilee to Jerusalem, and they are now his witnesses to the people. Remember, even though the Galilee is way up here, and Jerusalem is to us down here, right, north,
It's always
south,
up.
Jerusalem is always up. Jerusalem's the center of the world. Israel's the center of the universe. Israel is the center of the world. Jerusalem is the center of Israel. Everything is always, Jerusalem is always up. Doesn't matter if you're north, south, east, or west. Jerusalem is always up. Come, let us go up to the mountain. Now from us, it really is up. Only you got to go down through the earth and go all the way through, because we're exactly, if you take that, we're exactly here.
Opposite.
Okay? All right. Let us go up. All right. As for us, we are bringing you the good news that what God promised to the fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he has fulfilled for us, the children, in raising up Yeshua, as indeed it is written in the 2nd Psalm, you are my son, today I have become your father. And as for his raising him up from the dead to return to decay no more, he says, I will give the holy and trustworthy things of David to you. We have Melchizedek, priest. We have king, he's king, son of David, right? Ben David, Melech, king. For this is explained elsewhere. You will not let your Holy One see decay. He did not. David did. So it wasn't about David. It was about his offspring. For David did indeed serve God's purposes in his own generation. But after that he died, he was buried with his fathers and did see decay. However, the one God raised up did not see decay. Therefore, brothers, let it be known to you that through this man is proclaimed forgiveness of sins. Only way. That is, God clears everyone who puts his trust in this man, even in regard to all the things concerning which you could not be cleared by the Torah of Moshe. That one really struck me this week. Even by the things, right? The Torah says, if you do this, then you do this. And if you do this, you bring this offering, and you bring this, and you bring this atonement, and you're going to get purified through the red heifer. You're going to have the sin of ignorance, the sin of forgiveness, this peace offering, meal offering. You have all these things. But there are some that aren't covered. There's a death penalty. But he takes care of that. Reading how I love to proclaim it. Oh, I'm sorry. All these songs go through my head. So, anyone, God clears everyone. Please mark that verse. Okay, 1339. God clears, wipes away, cleans, clears, wipes out.
That doesn't mean you aren't going to have to
Consequences.
suffer the consequences.
Right. Except for the final consequence, a death. Okay, there are always consequences. There are always consequences to what we do. Always. But he clears my guilt. He clears my shame. He clears my final penalty. Okay? He clears everyone who puts his trust in this man, Yeshua, God is salvation. Even in regard to all the things concerning which you could not be cleared by the Torah of Moshe. Watch out then, so that this word found in the prophets might not happen to you. You mockers. Oh, that's one thing I can tell you. There's a difference between somebody laughing with you, someone laughing at you, and someone who mockingly laughs at you. There's a big difference. You mockers, look and marvel and die. Whoa, don't mock. For in your own time I am doing a work that you simply will not believe, even if someone explains it to you. I think of Ricky and Lucy. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, Ricky, right? Explain it to me, Lucy, is what he would say. Explain it to me. Well, Paul's trying. As they left, the people invited Saul and Barnabas to tell them more about these matters the following Shabbat. And when the synagogue meeting broke up, many of the born Jews, and devout proselytes, they were grafted in, followed Saul and Barnabas, who spoke with them and urged them to keep holding fast to the love and kindness of God. That message hasn't changed. Remember I mentioned it last week, love and kindness. That's hesed. Okay, I know this is written in the Greek, okay? This is the New Testament, but the Hebrew word is chesed, love and kindness. Okay? Is he a God of justice? Yes, absolutely. Can I come to him any way I please? Initially, if I call out to him, he'll hear me. Initially. But once I come to him and recognize who he is and call out to him, now he says, okay, now learn of my ways. Put my law in your heart. This is how you come to me, right? like a child, the baby, you know, we don't, do we correct the little baby? Oh, did you not, you didn't say mom right. Can't even say mom. No, they learn. Do you understand? But they learn. So you come and God just lavishes love on us. And out of responding love, we obey. Okay? That's where I'm going to stop on that one.